Stranger Things' big bad Vecna has joined the ranks of TV and film's great iconic horror villains, but as scary as he already is, there were a ton of even more terrifying designs and looks that didn't make the final cut. Yippee-ki-yay movie lovers, I'm Jan, and in this video I'm revealing and explaining all the horrifying Vecna designs you never got to see in the show. This early version of Vecna had an armoured shell over his body and face, and was inspired by the prehistoric fish, the Dunkleosteus. This giant fish, which was up to 29 feet long and could weigh over 4 tons, had large bony plates that formed its face and jaws, and like Vecna, was a fearsome predator. The idea behind this original design was that over time, living in the Upside Down had hardened and separated pieces of Henry's skin from each other, forming these tough plates over his body. Another iteration of this design used a spiky version of the armour, which almost gives him the appearance of being covered in shards of rock or stone. The designs ended up being rejected as they were too rigid and didn't allow for enough of Vecna's expressions and emotions to come through. This next early design had some grotesque insect-like arms and legs. The look was inspired by the real-life Mantis and its 2 large forelegs, which have adapted so that the creature can catch and grab its prey. The arms of this particular Vecna could also split open to form claws that he would then use to stab his victims, something Vecna actually did in his final form, but with his more human-like claws. It's a very creepy design that would have fit well with Henry Creel's love of spiders, and it also reminds me of Pennywise's spider form in It Chapter 2. The issue with it though was that it would have been very hard to achieve practically given the extended appendages needed for the villain. The Duffer Brothers were keen that Vecna have a practical feel about him, and the final version of the villain was all practical makeup and prosthetics, with just VFX used for his vines. This alternate version of Vecna is much more alien-like, with some kind of skin or webbing growing over and covering his eyes, making him appear almost blind. The thinking behind this look was to give Vecna more of an extraterrestrial vibe, with the idea being that Henry's time in the Upside Down had transformed him into something closer to a demogorgon than a human, according to the artist Michael Marr Jr. His look also reminds me of the pale man villain from Pan's Labyrinth who eats children, akin to Vecna, who targets teenagers in Season 4. Another early idea for Vecna's look was to have a patchwork of skin stretched over his gaunt body. The idea was inspired by Hellraiser, and I think what they were going for was the antagonist Frank, who comes back from the dead in a degenerated state until his body begins to grow back flesh and skin as he consumes his victims. An even more gruesome version of this idea gave Vecna extra pale skin like a vampire, which seems fitting given the introduction of the Demobats in Season 4. And his teeth and mouth in this design gives me some real Cenobite Chatterer vibes from the Hellraiser franchise. And there's a touch of the Demon of the Mind Eligos from Ash vs. the Evil Dead in this design too. These designs were inspired by the idea that because Henry had been living in the Upside Down for so long, his skin had begun to rot away, falling apart in patches, with him clamping the skin together to save it. In an extra gross version, the skin hung over Vecna's jaw, and in another, the skin had melted over his eyes. And in this design, whenever Vecna used his powers, his eyes would cry blood, similar to what we see happens to Vecna's victims. The multiple eyes in this design also remind me of Henry and his love of spiders, creatures which typically have many eyes. All these designs were rejected because, similar to the problem with Vecna's armoured skin, they didn't allow for enough expression. Another idea that was initially explored was for Henry to become infected with a type of gangrene that would corrupt his body. The thinking was that after years of living in the Upside Down, a mouldy type of rot together with vines had taken hold of Henry's body, and the artist describes it as a type of tumorous gangrene that would eat away at Vecna's flesh. These designs followed a similar idea, the difference being that the rot on Vecna's body was a bit brighter coloured and was a type of radioactive rot that Henry had caught from his exposure to the Upside Down. Although these looks were suitably scary for the villain, the designs were discarded because they didn't disguise Vecna's true identity. This was crucial so that it would be more difficult to immediately realise that the seemingly friendly orderly that Eleven first meets at Hawkins' lab is actually the series' big bad. This alternate design for Vecna emphasises his asymmetrical look with his oversized left arm, but with also a giant tentacle attached. A particularly weird unused design is this one where Vecna still had some thin long strands of hair on his head, an idea that was quickly rejected in all the subsequent designs. This Vecna also had some little spikes growing out of his shoulders and hands, and the look of his face reminds me a little of the serial killer from the movie Smiley. I think it's safe to say that most of these alternate designs for Vecna are even more terrifying and unsettling than the already scary version of the villain we did get. In the end, the more humanoid version they went for reflects his human origins better, together with the elements of the Upside Down that became part of his body, such as roots, vines, and new muscle tissue. Vecna's red, purple, and black colours, which are associated with the Upside Down, are meant to show how the alternate dimension took over his body, and any human flesh left over is pale because he's been away from daylight for such a long time. I do want to thank Emmy-nominated artist Michael Marr Jr. for sharing all of these incredible and original designs for Vecna, which Barry Gower and his makeup effects company translated into an amazing on-screen look for the villain. The prosthetic makeup took between 6 and 7 hours every day to apply, meaning that the makeup team and actor Jamie Campbell Bower's working day began at 2 or 3 a.m, so he'd be ready for shooting later that morning. And it then took another hour once filming was finished each day to take it all off. All in all, Henry, Wan and Vecna make an incredibly compelling central villain in Stranger Things, and if you'd like to learn how I expect the series to end, tap here to watch my Season 5 theory video, and also why 11 will end up using time travel to defeat Vecna. There's also links in the video description. So movie lovers, what do you think of these alternate Vecna designs? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked this video, do leave a thumbs up, I really appreciate it. And you can tap left to discover every incredible Easter egg you missed in the final part of Season 4. Thanks for enjoying Stranger Things with me, and hope you have a marvellous movie-loving week. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers!